Welcome back to our channel. Hear me out with Dee.
And E.
And before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment on our videos. We are excited to be doing this whole new adventure. So, join our community.
Today we are going to be talking about the E. Get it? E. Like E News. The evolution of the Kardashians. So we're just going to tap in or give a brief synopsis about their life, their business, what's going on with them, from keeping up to the HULU version of the Kardashians or the KarJenners, and what we expect to see in season 3.
Well, this is probably going to be a video that I think will be hilarious. We've been watching this family for what, a decade, more than a decade, something
Probably
like.
more.
Yeah, I mean, oh no, yeah, definitely more because I want to say they started like in the 2007 around there. So they've been a part of, our TVs for a very long time.
We kind of
I
grew up with them, I
we,
guess.
we did, yeah, because we were somewhere in between the Jenners and the Kardashians. Because the Jenners were like little girls, but the Kardashians were already a little bit older. So yeah, we're kind of in between all that. We grew up with all of them, right? So the evolution. Ooh, I mean, the reason we say E with the dot is because they began their careers at the channel E. And it was a show that was Keeping Up with the Kardashians, was the title. It became a sensation. Of course, you'll have your people who'll say that the reason for the sensationalization of this family stems from a very adult video from one of the KarJenner members. And I don't think we need to go into that. I mean, that's been rehashed everywhere, including in the new show that's on Hulu. Anyway, so when we first meet this family, the mom, the matriarch, Kris Jenner, is married to then Bruce Jenner. And they had their two daughters, which are Kendall and Kylie. And they're a blended family because Kris had four children from her previous marriage to Robert Kardashian, as you all know, which is Courtney, Kim, Chloe, and Robert, or Rob. And so we meet that family nucleus and just how they go about their lives. And it's very clear that these people aren't your run of the mill family next door. They have been involved in, the business, Hollywood business, at least for some time, considering that the father of the Kardashian children, Robert Kardashian, was an entertainment lawyer. People may know him from a very famous or infamous trial back in the 90s, the O.J. Simpson trial. So a lot of their lives, even though it's a whole family thing, it's not necessarily very like relatable from the beginning. I mean, sure, there's little squabbles here and there that they had, but I mean, there's an episode that always comes to mind, which I think was very extraordinary, as in like ridiculous, where Kim was taking selfies on the way to go put their sister Chloe in jail. And
That was epic. What are you talking about?
I mean, no, it was epic. But also, I don't think I'd be taking selfies if we're like dropping you off in jail. I'm just saying. I
It's the
mean,
memories. They're all about the memories. This is important. They'll never forget it.
they were recording it. Yeah, they'll never forget
I
it.
need my personal stuff so I
Yeah.
can recollect, just pull it up on my phone. Hey, remember that time you went to jail?
So,
Yeah.
as you guys can tell, probably one of us has a very different view of life, while another has, a more selfie view of life. So, I mean, this is something that we all kind of noticed, right? And we saw from this family. They were like out there and everything was out in the open. And you saw Kim doing from the very beginning a Playboy photo shoot to now Kim being on the cover of Vogue magazine, which is something that they told her back in the day she was never going to do.
You know she was
So
on the cover just because of Kanye, but that's
um,
another story for
we'll get
another
to that.
day.
We'll touch on that a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Because it is part of their evolution. So, when we, like I said, meet this family, everything is kind of still very like gimmicky and funny, and so there has some elements of like down to earth, even though it's still a little outrageous. And as the years passed and they continued to get, renewed season after season, they became fixtures in all of our lives, and they were everywhere. You didn't just see them on TV. You saw them in social media. I mean, they now have amassed hundreds of millions of followers all across their socials. And I mean, they've done everything from what is it, a cell phone game, Kimoji, to cameos in movies, to SNL, to just like a whole wide range of things that I don't think we saw it going into that realm of things. Not, taking it back to when like Kim was doing club hostings at Tao nightclub in Las Vegas with her Hervé dress and all that, to now she's wearing all of the most haute couture items you can think of. I mean, she has what, like a capsule collection with Dolce and Gabbana now. I mean, clearly things have changed, and that's part of what we wanted to discuss today. How we've seen these people that we grew up with, like we mentioned earlier, basically come into their own and who they are now, and a lot of the drama that's happened in between. So, who do we want to touch on first?
First of all, I just want to commend the KarJenners. I think they have done an extraordinary job on a business standpoint with their marketing. I think we should probably even study that in school, how they've managed to stay so relevant. I don't know, for like 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, and they just continue to grow their brand. Obviously, if you guys have seen the first two seasons of the Hulu version of the Kardashians, you see that they primarily focus on, you know, the business women that they are, what they have going on. And I think that's the shift that they wanted to do. And it's not necessarily working, but we'll discuss that later. But I mean, it's just so commendable that,
Yeah.
Kim is now a billionaire.
Oh my
How do you
God.
go from Playboy and doing, that adult thing with Ray J to being a billionaire with Skims and her makeup line, and she's even what is it called? One of those silent partners,
Oh yeah, with
like
the
angel
baby.
investing.
Yeah.
In angel investing, we have Chloe doing, Good American and promoting body positivity and shows Kylie, who has revolutionized the cosmetic industry. And I think, she was a billionaire, but then she wasn't, but then she was. I don't know where she is now. But, she got more money than me,
For
for
sure.
sure. For sure. So, just growing her brand with lip kits and swimwear. She even extended her line to do some baby way,
Oh, baby
baby
products.
baby
Yeah.
products and things like that. Courtney, the least interesting to look at, in my opinion. But she's doing stuff. She has that Poosh lifestyle magazine, and she just came out with the Let Me vitamins, which I think is very on brand for her. I'm surprised that she
It
waited
is.
till now
Mm-hmm.
to do something like that. Uh, let's see, Rob, he does his sock line, and that's all I
Yeah.
know. The extension of the Kardashians, which is Scott, which they need to bring him back in season 3 because everybody
They
misses him.
are. They,
He has
they
the
are.
talentless line of clothing wear. And I think anybody who's in the immediate circle, 6 degrees of separation, have success just being linked to the Kardashians and have all these doors and opportunities open just because, they know them and they're personal friends.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to the early years, they were, seen as just reality stars and even as pariahs in certain circles because people didn't want to include them in certain things. The reason why you see that you have Kim doing Skims, Kim doing, all these different things that like she wasn't doing before is because she's learned and she's evolved, she's grown from all of these things. And I think a lot of, going back to what you said about the first two seasons being about their businesses and them kind of, going in that direction, I think that was a part of them trying to show that, hey, like, this is who we are, like, it's not just us shaking and eating salads. Like, it's, there's a whole,
First,
yeah,
I just had a salad. I wish I would have done it.
that's the correct way to do it. So, it's not just them having these, little family squabbles while those still happen. It's also the fact that they're moms now, most of them. They're, maintaining their families. They are maintaining businesses. They're handling all these different things. And they're showing that, to us in this new season. However, it wasn't as, like, heavily accepted by fans of the original show. And I think they have kind of learned from it, because you can see in the promos for the new season, which starts this Thursday, by the way. Kim, like, kind of gives you a little bit of insight into what's happened in her personal life. She went from having a boyfriend to now she's single. Also, her divorce being finalized. You also see the one and only Lord Disick appear in the promos, and he's even appeared even more in the most recent promos, because I think that the Kardashians, for whatever they were trying to do with the first two seasons, prove to people, hey, stop saying, or all of the naysayers that said, like, where's the talent, we have no talent, whatever, like, here we are, we've done this, right? Yes, they did that. However, the people, the fans, the Kardashian fans that have been loyal, and huge part of why they've maintained such a foothold for a decade plus, is these fans. And I remember that, not long after, I believe, season two ended, Kim put out a tweet where she asked the fans, "What do you want to see in the new season?" So you can tell that they are, like, dialed in. They are paying attention to what the Twitterverse, what the socials are saying, as far as, like, yeah, they weren't feeling those first two seasons. They wanted some of the old, keeping up vibes to come back. And based on the promos, I think it's definitely going to happen. I am also glad, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am glad to see more of Scott. He's hilarious, and he's always been that comic relief, that's needed on the show, because sometimes I think they take things a little too serious that maybe they shouldn't, and Scott kind of brings it all back together.
I wonder if maybe I'm looking at it in a business perspective just because I'm in accounting and finance. If people don't like the show just because it's so businessy. I mean, I thoroughly appreciate, all those things and all those conversations, and I think it even, helps me grow as a professional. Be like, oh, let me look into this, or hey, or it just sparks other thoughts. But I'm also happy to see a little bit of drama because that's what I'm used to. There were so many things that these first two seasons didn't discuss. There's this Astro World, unfortunate events that happened there. There's, this whole Kanye situation, which I understand because they don't want to discuss it because of the kids and things, but it kind of leaves fans, in limbo. Like we gotta know. I'm already a part of your life. I'm a Kardashian. I'm a Despain Kardashian. So I want to know what's going on.
Right.
There's this whole Tristan thing that, they kind of touched, even though I kind of don't want to hear it, but I kind of do. Um, I definitely don't want to see Courtney making out with Travis. I do not. I don't think
We're over the PDA.
we
I'm sorry.
I I am not a fan of
Yeah.
PDA. I think there's just a time and a place for those kinds of things. Even as an adult, there's kids around.
Yeah.
There's just a time and a place, and I think they overdo it, and it's not in a classy way. I don't know.
It's
But even then,
fine though. We
huh?
happy for you, Courtney. We are.
Yeah, yeah, we're happy for
Take it
you, I
somewhere else.
guess. Um, and I'm just happy also to see the relationships evolve with Chris, Chloe, and Kylie,
Yeah.
where I feel like, in the previous Keeping Up, they kind of didn't appreciate their mom. I know it's kind of weird. I feel
Yeah.
like, they were overly critical. They were kind of mean with their jokes and things like that.
Yeah.
And, I think maybe it's, growing pains as well and them growing up. But I
Yeah.
feel like, I love the dynamic and I love how they love their mom. I know the weirdest
Yeah.
word.
Oh, that's
Like they
beautiful.
really love and appreciate them. And I kind of like seeing, how they treat their kids,
Yeah.
how much they love them and, give attention to them. And I think, the love for their kids and their family, it's kind of palpable or, you can sense it in the screen.
Oh, yeah. I think that's obviously, them probably becoming moms themselves played a large role in them coming to really appreciate their mother. I'm sure they appreciated her before, but a lot of things we saw were a bit over the top with the ways that they kind of spoke to her sometimes. So that evolution has been a really good one. And going back to what you were saying about, the first two seasons of the new show, The Kardashians, being so business centric, yeah, I think I'm also in like the minority here. I thoroughly enjoy those first two seasons, and I appreciated seeing kind of like the behind the scenes of how they go about their business handlings and stuff like that because they are uber successful. I mean, you can hate all you want, but these women are successful.
It's
They are.
commendable.
It is. It really is. And it's just mind boggling to me that people want to downplay that as though it's not like important, but it is. It's really important. That is how, they have continued to maintain one foot like in everything, right? It's like the fact that they have been able to utilize not just their capital as far as like, they have money, but also like their brand, right? Like them lending their name to things, them starting these companies, doing all these different things. It's really something to aspire to, even if you're like doing it on a small scale, because none of us are millionaires in here or billionaires. But it is something that's pretty commendable. And on top of that, I mean, thinking of, like I said earlier, the evolution and the fact that like they had what, the Dash store, do you remember that, where Courtney and Kim were like running that, and to go from that, from having a little shop, a boutique, to now their items, their drops, like selling out sometimes within minutes. I mean, that's insane. And me, some stuff is a little overpriced. I have a couple of good American items myself. I love them. They are
Mm-mm.
overpriced. And, so like seeing how that has really evolved, I think it's awesome. I think it's great that they have, been able to get to this point. But yes, they did kind of gloss over some very dramatic things that
Awesome.
happened
Hmm.
in their lives. And kind of, I think it is something that you and I have discussed on previous videos, like how you're putting yourself out there, you're wanting these cameras on you, clearly, right? You're filming the show. So the fact that they're all executive producers, they are picking and choosing what we see. That's kind of something that it's great for them, right? But then it also takes away from the authenticity that they, were trying to really like show all those years during keeping up, because now it's like it is glossed over. It is, something that's more filtered, which, I mean, how many times have they been accused of photoshopping and filtering? And so this is just now on a video scale, so to speak. And I think that's something that put a lot of fans off. Um, because with fame, with notoriety and all that comes a lot of consequences, and sometimes they're not good. And we were seeing the headlines, we were seeing the responses online on social media during the Kim and Kanye divorce and everything that was happening. I, yes, totally understand, wanting to shield the kids, protect the kids, but there are 10 seasons of a whole nother show that you cannot protect your children from. And I think in the interest of continuing to obviously keep them in mind, it's like speak to them about the things that will be happening, because these children, they did not ask for this life, but they're now born into it, and
Hmm.
they're now a part of it because Kim has involved, her kids in some of her ventures. I think two of the older kids, they're doing North and Stains, they're like doing voiceover acting on a movie. I can't remember which one right now, but they're doing like voiceover acting on the movie that Kim had originally done voice acting on, you know. So now it's like a little family thing, which is cute. But they're now a part of the same media. And Kylie's had her daughter with her everywhere. Chloe's included True in several commercials and,
Mhm.
you know, ad posts and stuff like that. I would say Courtney, not so much. I think, especially her oldest child, Mason, he doesn't care for the limelight for now. So that's respectable that she's kind of kept him away from that. But you know, they are out there now. And with Chloe, most recently, I also saw that she had Dream in an ad. Chris has done an ad with Dream. So, you know, it's kind of hard to like say, yeah, sure, go ahead and like, you know, shield them from all this. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to parent, but it's like you're trying to have it both ways.
Mhm.
And that doesn't always work because that just makes people want to do the opposite. That just makes people want to do, you know, the worst. So maybe getting ahead of things would probably be better. And who knows, maybe this new season will kind of like touch on that or kind of, you know, really give things a better look or whatever, how they want to try to do it. But it is crazy knowing that all these years we were keeping up with them, right? And we were having like this almost voyeuristic view into their lives, and now it's just kind of been, you know, chopped up to like only really focus on certain things. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, how I don't if they had not listened to the fans, and you know, I haven't seen the new season just yet, but like if they had not listened to the fans and they continued to do what they did with the first two seasons, I think that, you know, it could be a scenario where they would possibly put off fans, you know, and then maybe, you know, they wouldn't have such a, I don't know, such a stronghold on media and all that.
I think that, we've seen a couple of trailers, or if you guys haven't seen a couple of trailers, the main focus now is going to be Kim versus Courtney and whatever
Mm,
drama they got going on. I don't
yeah.
know if it was keeping up. Yeah, it was keeping up. One of the last few seasons, we saw this big altercation where they had a
Oh,
fight, a physical fight, which we've never seen. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
yeah.
Just because I always think that there is such a united front,
Hmm.
despite of anything going on, they seem very family oriented and there for each other. So to see something like that was a little disheartening. But it seems like they've been having these growing tensions, and this season 3 in Hulu is going to talk about, Courtney's wedding and, killing the vibes, or him doing some business deal with Dolce and Gabbana.
Yeah.
And hopefully they, really talk about what the issues are. I think we can sense it. At least I can see it. As a fan, do I like it? Do I not? I don't know. I like drama, TV. Um, but I do want to say the evolution of Courtney. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I don't know if I like her as much as I did before. I think she was a fan favorite,
Yeah.
in keeping up. She always had this Courtney-isms, you
Yeah.
know, Kim, people are dying, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I gotta go, you know. Um, so I think, it's very obvious. I feel like she doesn't want to do this show. She has expressed interest that, she's over this, but it could also be that in the beginning, we focused on her life with
Mhm.
Scott, and that, whole ordeal, her having kids, delivering her own kids, you know, and, being scrutinized in that way. Then we saw her have, a midlife crisis when she was turning 40, which is relatable because I have a crisis every day about
Ooh, yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Um, but
Same.
I just feel like she's changed into somebody a little more serious, somebody a little more disgruntled, in my opinion. There's like something going on there that is very off-putting to me. I don't know if other people notice it as well. Um, so, I feel like everybody's kind of walking on eggshells with her. I see it with Kim, I see it with Chloe. They used to be tight or,
I know.
and now they're not. There was even a lie detector test thing on YouTube that I saw where Courtney was asking Chloe, would you ever let True sleep over my house? And and Chloe said, absolutely not. That's
That's
weird.
true. Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
think that is so weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's something going on with her. I think if she just doesn't want to do the show, she shouldn't.
Yeah. No,
Like, yeah, there's just something wrong there, and I hopefully in this season we go a little more into it.
they touch on it. Yeah. I mean, sisters fight. It's, I have a sister. You have a sister. Like we
Yeah,
fight.
but it's a little
But something is
there's
different.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with you. Like something is definitely different. I think that you know early on in the first several seasons of Keeping Up, a lot of Courtney's life was revolved around Scott and that relationship and everything. And as we all know, they went through a lot together. It wasn't the healthiest relationship. And Scott wasn't the best person for her. So, I'm glad that she's found someone like Travis that clearly they seem to really love and enjoy one another. So that's great. But I think that she's been missing something. And I don't know if it's because she was the first sister to have kids. She was the first sister to kind of like start the whole motherhood journey on her own. And when Kim, got pregnant with North, I want to say Courtney had already had Penelope. And but at that time Kim was with Kanye and life was different for Kim. And so I don't know how much really was shared with like Courtney and everything. Yeah, their daughters, kind of like grew up together and all that. But still, I don't know if maybe for her, because she kind of started her life in a different manner and before most of her sisters, maybe things just like kind of started to have some sort of an effect there, where she was starting to lean towards a life of something quieter, something more at home with her kids. Kim was like, just skyrocketing, and then so was like Kylie. And Chloe along, the way has also become, I mean, she's always been a fan favorite, but now she's become someone that really like people look to for things. People, like actually want her involved in things. And with Chloe or with Courtney, I'm sorry, I think that's something else that like you kind of notice that she's probably maybe closed herself off a little. I know that in the most recent promo, Chloe mentioned how Courtney felt a certain kind of way and like the family really wasn't there for one another in a deep level, and Chloe felt that that was like such a sad thing for her to feel that way. But then Chloe said, and I thought this part was shocking, where she said, well, I could say the same thing about how, she really wasn't there for her, Chloe, with her baby and all of that. And I thought that was interesting because in all of the beasts that you've seen when it comes to Kim and Courtney and all that, I think Chloe tries to kind of like stay neutral, but this seemed a little different, even with her. And I kind of noticed that also, like a few seasons before the ending of Keeping Up, where there was a shift in their relationship and that energy. And when that started to happen, Courtney seemed to like kind of gravitate towards other people instead of like her sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's also the fact that Chris has always favored everybody else. Kim was her favorite for a long time, then it's become Kylie. And I don't know, maybe that was something that also could have like led to a lot of infighting, a lot of issues that just like make it difficult to really like feel that you're appreciated in the family, right? So now she has her own family. She wants to just kind of stick to that. She wants to just kind of like, make that her whole world because she's not getting that from, the people she grew up with.
Yeah, but I also think that she's very dismissive of other people's feelings.
She is.
You know, every time that they try to talk to her or like express some kind of feeling, she's on her phone, like very dismissive, doesn't care what they're saying. She just blows up for no reason. You
Yeah.
know, we saw it with like a, what was it, like a pie eating contest one time, and she told Kim, shut the F up. And
Oh
we're
my
like, whoa, where
gosh.
did that come
Right.
from? You
Yeah,
know,
it's crazy. Like,
I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's jealousy, but it almost feels like Poosh and this Let Me brand, the vitamins,
mhm.
it almost seems a little forced. Besides having the show, what does she have?
Oh gosh, I knew that was coming.
Well,
She
I
has
don't
her
feel like she's
show.
very invested in
No.
these things. It's not as obvious, and everybody's different, but Kim seems very gung-ho about all the things that she does.
Oh,
Chloe's very immersed into her good American. Kylie, we already know she's always lip glossing somewhere on Instagram.
yes.
Even Kendall over there doing her 818, I see her advertisements
Yeah.
everywhere, even though that's kind of weird, but I guess she's into tequila and basketball players. But but
Everyone's
just
into
Courtney, it was just like, I don't know, she spoke to Gwyneth Paltrow one day, and I guess she got the idea of Poosh. And then the vitamins, I think it's very on brand and
yeah.
a very good idea on her behalf. So why does she wait so long? She's always been into this, let's eat organic, let's
Yeah.
not touch leather, let's do blah, blah, blah. You
Yeah.
know, it just seems like with this iteration of the Kardashians, after this, where do they go show wise? She doesn't have anything.
No.
And that's okay. But
Yeah.
I think, this is a big money source for them. And she needed Chris told her, pick a business and go with it because everybody else is thriving and you're boring. I
Oh,
say this in the most nicest way. Hey, Courtney, I want to meet you. You, Kim, the fam, the Spain, KarJenners, that's me. Okay, I don't mean to diss. This is just the way a fan or
an
a
observation.
stepsister
Oh,
sees the show.
yeah.
So, I just hope that whatever you're going through, make it better.
Oh,
I know you're in therapy or not. I don't know. Talk to yourself,
oh,
figure it out. But, we definitely don't like seeing this sister rivalry thing
no.
going on. It's not on brand.
Oh, no, it's not. Especially given that it really has been a big sticking point. I think that's what's made fans so loyal also is the family, right? Like, to semi quote Dom Toretto from Fast X, it's all about the family. And, it's like it's weird. It's really weird. And you
They're literally in each other's nacho all the time.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. There was like this one season of Keeping Up where Scott was shaving Courtney's, you know what, and
Yeah.
and Chloe walked in. I don't know how
I would
they
know.
they they love each other like that. You know,
Yes.
when they're delivering kids, the whole family's in the room. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have like hair on their tongue to express how they feel.
Right.
So I don't know.
Weird.
I don't
It's
know what's
weird.
going on.
But I think to the last thing I'll say on the sister beef rivalry that's been going on. I think that ultimately, um, if they're not able to get to a point of just like mutual understanding, it won't ever get better. I mean, it's
Yeah, they just need to kick her out of the show, and the show must go on.
if she does not want to do the show, definitely don't do the show. But I think that I think they want it to still be like the full family. I'm sure it was hard when Caitlyn was no longer a part of the show. Or, I'm sure it was hard when like they didn't have certain spouses, certain partners. involved anymore. Like there's been a lot of heartbreak, in that family. And so like I said, one of the sticking points has always been this family, like, just like loyalty, this family, like, brand thing that they've had going on. I mean, to kind of say into like each individual person, I mean, to start, Kris Jenner, the momager, like, she has done so much to really build this empire for their family, and then helped each of her daughters, do what they have to do. I can assume, based on everything we've seen over a decade plus, that she must have talked to Courtney at some point. Hey, what do you want to do? Let's do what you want to do. And okay, if she didn't know what she wanted to do, that's fine. But, you know, it's kind of like she wants to be understood, but I don't see her trying to understand.
Hmm.
Like, understand that, yes, Kim is a business. She may be your sister, but she has a certain, set of responsibilities.
She's a
That
brand within a brand.
she is. This is Kim is Kim. There is no other. And Chloe has evolved as well into someone that, you know, doesn't joke as much as she used to, doesn't, kind of just like goof off or whatever. Like, we see her so much. The girl has been through so much. So yeah, she's not the same person. And it's okay to change. It's okay to evolve and grow, even growing apart. But I think her desire to be understood should also come with her attempts at understanding others. And I think that's where you kind of have a chasm. She's not, seemingly, of course, she's not seemingly trying to understand. And that's where I think, for me, I keep like, ugh, what's going on, Courtney? Because it's like, why? It doesn't seem like, especially with her being the oldest. I'm the oldest, and I feel like I would want to try and understand. And I know that I can have my moments. I know that I can be difficult, but I don't want to ever not, be able to understand. Whether I agree or not, at least I want to make the attempt. And so, yeah, I think that's something that's been disappointing. Seeing that there hasn't been a point to where she's made that attempt. And again, going back to Kris, there's only so much she can do. These are all grown women now. And Kris has had her own hands full, because when she first started, she was just trying to get her daughters out there. She was just trying to get the family out there. And she has since, like, created multiple businesses, not just for her kids, but also for herself. Has helped out countless of people and employed tons of people. She's made these brands that we all now know, right? She is the backbone of this whole entire operation. And she's also been through a lot. I guess we can begin with the drama. And one of her very real dramas, one of her very big dramas, was the fact that at the beginning of Keeping Up, she was married to Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner then transitioned into Caitlyn Jenner, and they were no longer together. Now, there's some speculation, accusations that Kris knew some of this, some all, maybe a bit, who knows. But there was a lot of issues with all of that. And I felt for Kris, because she lost her first husband. Granted, they were divorced when he passed, but you know that she loved that man. And so that's always been difficult for her. And then she loses her second husband through divorce. And now she's been with someone, Corey Campbell, that, seemingly is there for her. Although they've also had a couple of rumors here and there where he supposedly cheated and whatnot. But I think one of the things you can tell about Kris, aside from her success, is how proud she is that her daughters are who they are. And I think there's really nothing more that you can say, as far as like, yes, she's grown, she's evolved, but she's still that same momager, trying her trying to help get her kids out there, trying to make sure her kids can make it. So I appreciate that. Maybe not so much before. I thought it was like, whoa, chill. But and let's not forget, she's not a meme, but there is this running joke of like the devil works hard, Kris Jenner works harder. Because a lot of the
Yes,
headlines
he
you see,
does.
a lot of the headlines you see from the KarJenners, whatever scandal, is some kind of assumption that it's all about ratings. And sometimes it seems a little plausible, especially when they have new shows coming up or new products or new this or that. And it's like, whoa, what just happened? How did
Or
we
when
get
they're keeping their babies' names for like 3 seasons. Tell me, Chloe, what is the name? But
rumor if it's Tatum?
that's
Rumor. I don't know.
Tatum. I heard Tate.
What?
Oh Lord.
Guess we'll
Well,
find out. Hopefully this week. Because I think we've waited for what, 9 months now? Anyway, then let's not also forget the fact that they've also hidden a whole pregnancy. Anyway, but before we get to that part, we talked about the beef with Courtney and Kim. We essentially talked about Courtney's evolution and Chris's. Let's talk about Kim's evolution.
all right. So where do we start with Kim? Um, we all know her from her Playboy shoot and also that adult film that she did with Ray J. That kind of came up on the first season of the Hulu version, which I'm kind of disappointed about.
Yeah,
Just because, they're so much older, they've grown so much, their brand and their recognition and all the things that they do, have grown in such a grandiose way for them to kind of mention this whole Ray
exactly.
J thing. I
Yeah.
kind of didn't like that, especially dealing with the kids. I don't know. I think it was Saint who saw something and then I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh.
It was kind of weird. But Kim, she's always somebody that's craved media attention, stardom. She's always wants to be taken seriously. She used the paparazzi to her advantage. I think some things were probably scripted, some things weren't. We saw her and her relationships with Reggie Bush, her 72-day marriage with Chris
Oh.
Humphries. By the way, where is he? Who knows? We also saw the romance with Kanye, and they were together for, so many years. We also saw, not on the show, but through the media, their divorce and, everything that Kanye was saying. And, Kim likes to throw this word, the narrative that's being said. So we kind of hear the crazy Kanye version of things. And we kind of haven't heard that much of Kim's, besides her wanting to protect the kids. Well, besides her love life, we see her grow as a businesswoman. So we saw the Kimoji, we seen the Skims, the makeup line, the perfume. She's
Yeah.
been in movies. What was it, like the Scream movie or the she's been in one of these scary movies.
Yeah, she did one of those.
I think she was on a Netflix horror, American Horror Stories.
Oh,
She's
that's
trying to be a
fun.
lawyer, which is very commendable. I think that's her after plan after the
Yeah,
Kardashians.
yeah.
She just got to pass this test. I'm rooting for you. I really am. And she's doing a lot of work with the prison reform. So, it's showing evolution there. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
all about Kim and her family and her brand. She's actually, helping people, even though it might seem like, hey, you're just doing it for, media attention. At this point, I don't care if she is or she isn't. She's actually helping people. She's helping people,
Yeah,
innocent people. So I personally like that.
yeah. So I mean, with Kim, I think that me personally, I wasn't too much of a fan of hers in the beginning. I've always been Team Chloe, and I think a lot of the reason why I wasn't so much of a fan of hers was because she did seem very self-centered in the beginning. And
She was mom's favorite in the beginning, and it was very apparent.
it was obvious, yeah. And I think that that was something that just kind of was a little off-putting. But the way she's evolved, the way that she has, really taken charge of her narrative and of just her life in general and what her story now is, I think it's amazing because, as we talked about, she's now divorced. So she's a single mom of four, handling multiple businesses, also attempting to become a lawyer, while simultaneously being involved with prison reform and all these other activist uh, ventures that she has. And I think like it's something to really just be inspired by, whatever her past is, and everybody, knows enough of it. Um, it's not, I think, ultimately from what we've seen now, it's not who she is now, right? And to me, I want to say she's had the biggest growth. She's had the biggest evolution out of the family. She has definitely, I think become way more comfortable in her skin. And maybe now that she's past this divorce, she's also seemingly happier. Um, and that's also something that, is beneficial not just for her, but for her kids. So I enjoy who she is now. I enjoy, seeing like everything that she's doing, like the Skims line. I think she designed like what the pajamas for the Olympics and everything. I mean, that's amazing. And most of her shoots that she does for Skims, she has women of all backgrounds and sizes, and that's like so cool. And it's not just your typical models. It's not just your typical celebrities. I think she had Ice Spice on there recently, and I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
what?
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was like it's pretty interesting to see how in a way a lot of what she used to do for herself, right, to get attention for herself, she's kind of doing it for others. And I think that's awesome because it's not who I met, through keeping up in the first few seasons. It's not who I was seeing. And I know people like to brag on her and just like talk about how dramatic she is, and she shouldn't be complaining about this or that. And I think that's just a whole nother narrative that people need to get over. Like, we cannot possibly understand everything that goes on in this woman's life because we're not living it. And again, we're only privy to whatever they allow us to see. So based on what we do see, it's not like all, sunshine and rainbows. Like, there's a lot going on. And there's been times, like with the whole Kanye thing, where the ugly parts are shown. And she tries to rise above it as best as she can, but it's not always that simple. So I do think that she's evolved in a really good way. I think, especially because it's something that they've mentioned before, her father would be very proud of her. And it's something that I think is important for her, to kind of keep the memory of her father alive and make him proud. Because, I mean, sure, things started off with some X-rated exploits. Um, but again, that's not who she is anymore. And I don't really think that it was much of a reason to kind of start the first season, or yeah, the first season, first few episodes of the brand new show, that's supposed to be like this other iteration of Keeping Up, and talk about that. Like, talk about Ray J, talk about any of that stuff. It's just kind of pointless at this time and place. It doesn't really matter anymore. And I think, you know, her being a little bit more open and honest about other things in her life, like recently this past week discussing on a podcast with Jay Shetty how, sometimes it's rough parenting. Sometimes she cries herself to sleep. And I saw so many people online making fun of that. And it's like, okay,
How do we
yeah,
talk about mental health and then you're making fun of something
right.
like that? Her reality is her reality.
Yeah,
I mean, we might be dealing with, limited funds or, somebody, somebody not being able to help us raise kids. I mean, we don't have kids, but, it's just speaking
yeah,
from things that we've seen or, any other family issues, but just, her life is her life. She's in charge of all these businesses, in charge of people on payroll.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
their life in her hands, taking care of four kids, giving them individualized attention, probably thinking about this law test that she hasn't passed, or why isn't she a lawyer, thinking about all the dreams that she hasn't accomplished yet,
Yeah.
keeping up, and her sister's rivalries, and whatever else, Kanye,
Yeah.
the whole topic in itself. So
Okay.
I think like people making fun of that, it, people miss the point. I think she was
Yeah.
just trying to express that parenting is hard,
Yeah.
not, everything else that came with it. They were like,
Right.
oh, that's easy for her to say. She has a nanny, she has this. But what we have seen with the Kardashians is that they really try to be present and in the moment with the kids. We've
Mhm.
seen how tight-knit they are, and how much basically they want to raise the kids, they want to raise them together. So I don't think that these kids are with the nannies 24/7. Maybe they are, I don't know. That's not the way I see it, but I think people have definitely missed the point with that
Yeah, for sure.
podcast.
We may not have kids, but our friends have kids, our family members have kids, and it definitely takes a village. It's not
Hmm.
just, like, oh, one person, like, yeah, they may not have, our people may not have nannies, but they have, us, they have help, right? Like, where we've helped to take care of our nieces and nephews, where we've looked after our friends' kids, whatever the case may be. And my sister has 4 kids, and she feels guilty that she can't give them individualized attention all the time. She feels, like there's times that it's difficult. She's also a single parent. So, I'm not gonna trivialize her situation, um, you know, because it's her situation is hard. Same way I can't trivialize Kim's. Like, I don't know what she's really going through. I'm not in her shoes. But it's understandable that there's a lot going on in her life, because not only is she having to deal with all of this, right, being a single parent, she's having to co-parent with someone who has documented and diagnosed mental health issues, who is going through his own stuff, right? Like, you want this person to be a part of your children's lives because that is their father, but you
Hmm.
also have to be mindful of the fact that he's not that well and that he's got his issues. And that's got to be hard, like, for anybody. And
And to add, this is all in the public media.
yes, right.
So her kids, let's say, having an outburst or something, it's, you know,
Out there.
sensationalized. Oh, Kim has these kids that don't listen to her, or blah blah blah. Anything that she does, it's damn it, she don't. It's
Yeah.
never positive. And I think people like misunderstanding things sometimes,
Yeah.
instead
For
of,
sure.
they need to like go more into things instead of just looking at these little snippets of stuff, you know, and stop misinterpreting and stop judging.
No, for sure. Like, that's insane what happens with regard to that. I mean, it's tough enough being just a woman in this country alone, and like, just because she has resources and funds doesn't mean everything is perfect. But to kind of go into the struggles of these women, the next sister, Chloe, has definitely been through it. And we've seen her go through a mugshot from the early stages of keeping up, right? Which was what, for intoxication, I believe.
DUI.
A DUI, right? Like, she was, partying, she was out there, she was living her life.
And it was documented.
All documented
Her
for sure.
not being able to walk a straight line.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, she was also criticized after, now being the public eye, because she was not the pretty sister. And I mean, that was something that I'm sure really affected her self esteem. And I think she's discussed that over the years. And, it's got to be rough. And then to go from having these issues to finding someone that you think is the love of your life and getting married within under a month of being with them. Speaking of her marriage to Lamar Odom, and former NBA player, and well, we all know that that didn't end well. Not only did they divorce, but she actually had to put the divorce on hold to help him out during his medical emergency because he OD'd. He'd become a drug addict, and he had to be in rehab, and he almost died after being found at a 20 range, which I think is like the poorhouse. I could be wrong. Anyway, and there's the fact that he publicly cheated on Chloe, and all these things. She held off her divorce to help him through that, and once she knew he was okay, the divorce was finalized. Then Chloe meets,
Triple T, quadruple T.
yeah, Tristan, third trimester Thompson. And well, we all know how publicly he hurt that woman. Um, there's no point in recounting all the times he cheated. We all know. We know with
Ugh, just
who.
even talking about it hurts my feelings. I
It's
can't.
tough. So again, all of this in the public, all of this in the spotlight, while simultaneously giving birth to her first child, Tristan, true, having to be in labor, finding out that the man that you love and want to be with, obviously because he's now the father of your child, cheated on you. Not just cheated on you, but publicly. Because there was no hiding. It didn't seem like he was hiding based on those pictures. All of that. You're in labor, giving birth to your first child. Like, I can't imagine. Because not only do women have to go through postpartum, right, after everything, but now she's having to deal with this man completely shattering her heart. Okay, they end up working it out. They're back together. He cheats again, publicly, with Kylie's friend. Whole nother mess, right? Things are over. That was all public as well. Things are over. Eventually, they get back together. Now what happens?
Third
Once again,
trimester strikes again.
once again, he cheats. And not only does he cheat, he gets this woman pregnant. And not only does he get her pregnant, but he gets Chloe pregnant. Because he convinced Chloe
Via
that,
surrogacy.
right, via surrogacy. He convinces Chloe, let's have another baby, while he's already expecting one with this other woman and not telling Chloe about it. All of this comes to light publicly, right?
I just don't understand why he didn't, like, this child was going to be born. Like, why hide it? Like, it just doesn't even make sense to me at this point.
Sheer hubris, stupidity. I don't know. I have no idea. Because there's no one in their right mind who would just be like, no, we're fine. It's fine. How?
No, I mean, Tristan was. It's fine. It's fine.
There's a paternity test, sir, and your entire life is public. There is nothing you can hide. And I'm sorry, but a lot of these women also don't care to hide. A lot of these women are happy to go on TMZ and say, yeah, I slept with Tristan Thompson. Thank God I didn't, but I'm just saying. All these other women are going online and, this, and that. It's all public. So Chloe's dealing with all of this now with 2 kids by Tristan. In the promos for the upcoming new season, she tells Scott there is no chance, no new chance, no other chance for Tristan. She's tired of the narrative. There was a recent comment that she wrote on someone's page about that. She's done. But people are going to keep with this narrative. And it's sad, And I think her evolution makes me sadder than, like, Courtney's, because she was someone who was so much of a bright light. Hilarious, funny, and even when she was, like, kind of off the wall with some of her comments, she was still someone that was, like, personable, right? She's constantly being voted, I think, People's Choice reality star or something. It's constantly Chloe. It's not Kim, it's not Courtney, it's Chloe. Because she's been a fan favorite for all these years. But she's also gone through these insecurities. She's now incredibly thin. And, if she's healthy, great. But it almost doesn't look as healthy. She's had the melanoma issue on her face that they're going to discuss on the new season. And all of that while her most, recent baby is just 8-9 months. It's a lot.
And her anxiety.
Right. She's had
All the
crippling
issues.
anxiety now. That was discussed during the last season. She didn't even want to walk the red carpet for the Met Gala last year. And that was her first time being invited, her first time going. I'm sorry. I don't know if that was her first time being invited, but it was her first time going for sure. And that was like a crippling, anxiety-filled moment for her because she is scared that anything she does will be scrutinized. And it is. But
Well,
reality
the
is,
public has definitely beat her up. I
yeah.
mean, it's like, damn if she does, damn if she does, damn she's eating a donut, damn not enough donuts, damn she's too skinny, damn she's too fat, damn she's with Tristan again. Oh no, why isn't she with him? Like she can't, she
That's
can't do
crazy.
anything right. And I could see that being, very crippling.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what feels like she's not necessarily the same person, which again, there's nothing wrong with growing and evolving. But you just, I feel like you can just kind of see that she's not
It's a
that
little
same,
sad.
yeah, bright light. And it's completely understandable. I mean, everything she's been through, it's completely understandable. Kendall Jenner is the sister with probably the least amount of media scrutiny as far as like, no crazy exes, no crazy cheating scandals or anything like that.
Except this whole Bad Bunny thing. Sorry to interrupt. What is she doing with him? Like, she's always been low key with all her five, starting five.
Ma'am,
What? It's okay. She's young. Date, love, have fun. Bad Bunny? Oh, what is she doing?
look, look, before we get into that, let's touch on her evolution because I know
Oh,
you want to
okay.
go in on this Bad Bunny
No,
situation.
no, no. That's all I had to say. I just needed to get it off my chest.
Oh my gosh. So Kendall, yes, has been very, very private. When we first saw her, she was just a kid, and I want to say she was what, like maybe in middle school, um, and she was starting out her life, also trying to kind of navigate this newfound reality for herself. And has always kind of maintained a more private life. She has been public about her issues with anxiety, seeing therapists, doing homeopathic things to kind of help with all of that. She's become a huge supermodel, like literally is in all the runways every season. And yes, she had help from her name, sure. But I think a lot of what she's done over the years has been just on her own merit because she's been very dedicated. She's not like her sisters who are constantly in the media for XYZ reason. And even in her socials, she's still kind of private and really only shows a few things. She has forayed into the tequila business, which, people have criticized in some ways, but I mean, hey, like people love tequila all around. Who cares? It's just another business
I do.
venture. So, why not, right? Like if it's great, it's great. If it's not, whatever. But yeah, Kendall really hasn't had any major like hiccups that we all know of to
Wait,
really
the
say.
Pepsi commercial?
I mean, she was criticized because of a Pepsi commercial, sure. And I'm sure that because she was so young, that was definitely a source of insecurity for her. And it couldn't have been fun. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, compared to,
Compared to her sisters, yeah.
yeah, she's kind of relatively had things a little bit easier. Now, to touch on the starting five, she was rumored to have dated Blake Griffin. She was rumored to have dated Ben Simmons. She was rumored to have dated Kyle Kuzma. She did publicly date Devin Booker most recently, and I believe they were on and off together for about 2 years.
They were
She
so cute.
They
Maybe
were.
he's
They were
cute.
very, very adorable. Now the Devin Booker romance was probably the only romance that she talked about on the show or that she brought onto the show. He was featured when they had some of the scenes pertaining to Courtney's wedding, I believe. Um, Not that he was like on the show because he didn't do any kind of confessions or anything like that, but still she brought him around, which was not something that she'd done in the past with her other relationships. But alas, things did not work out, and not long after, there was rumblings of a hookup or some sort of fling. I don't know what you want to call it between her and Bad Bunny. Now, for those of you that don't know, if you're living under a rock, Bad Bunny is one of the, if not the biggest artists on the planet. And he just headlined Coachella this past month. Huge, huge. He's also Puerto Rican, primarily speaks Spanish. He's been learning English. So a lot of the controversy, I think, aside from the fact that this is a very odd pairing, is that he's a Spanish speaker, she's an English speaker, and what do they really could possibly have in common?
Kris Jenner don't care. She just needed this. Kendall, she was just too calm. And so
Mhm.
she contacted Bad Bunny's people, be like, hey, can y'all just hang out together for a little bit, do the Met Gala, reverse bride and groom
Oh my god.
costumes, gowns, whatever, and, have the media go crazy.
And that's what's been weird to me. The fact that they literally are everywhere. They're being photographed out in the open. Like I want to say the first month there was some kind of paparazzi shots in secret, here and there. There wasn't anything that had been confirmed. But lately, yes. I mean, most
The
recently,
NBA game,
the
that's
Lakers
so
played
unlike Kendall.
like front row, courtside seats, right there. It's very unkindled. That was uncharacteristically, her. So there is some weirdness about all of this. But then again, there's also a possibility, and hear me out here. There's also the possibility that this man has brought out another side to her that we're not privy to. And maybe, just maybe, he's helped her deal with the anxiety that she has being out in the open, being out with the media and all that. You never
Hmm.
know. Maybe, just maybe, he's kind of tapped into this, like, I don't know, part of her heart that's just helped her kind of heal a little bit. Who knows? Or maybe they're just having fun. Because that's the other thing. Like, when have you seen this girl really having fun? Aside from when she's
Never.
out with her friends and she shows, that kind of footage. But aside from that, like, you don't really see her out having fun. She is someone that keeps to herself. So I think this could be good for her. Do I see it lasting? I don't know. I have my own
I
issues
don't.
with I have
But
my own issues with Bad Bunny about all of this, but that's not for this video. And so now we've reached the final KarJenner sister, and arguably the most popular because she does have the most social media followers, Kylie Jenner. What do you want to say about her?
Kylie, I don't know. I think when we saw her on Keeping Up, she was pretty obnoxious, to say the least. But she was also like what, 9, 10 years old. We
Yeah,
we saw her grow up.
yeah,
We saw all those growing pains and her being mean to her sisters and fighting with Kendall and
yeah.
all that stuff. What do we say about Kylie? Well, we know that, her one of her biggest insecurities was her lips.
Hmm.
And, that's how overlining her lips, and that's how the whole, what was it, Kylie Kits? What was it called?
Yeah, I think it was the
Kylie
Kylie
Lip Kits
lip kits. Yeah.
kind of started. And, this was a time where the Kardashians or the KarJenners was growing in popularity.
Mhm.
The teens were following Kendall and Kylie. The more later teens, adults were following the first three sisters. And I think, she was able to capture that audience, and, people wanted to be Kylie. And we really
Mhm.
saw her grow up, try new hairstyles, different colors. We saw her,
Yeah.
very deep into the makeup and the contouring, her developing, ultimately Kylie Cosmetics, $1 billion business, which, she sold part of it to, one of these venture capitalist groups. I'm
Hmm.
drawing a blank on the name, but, she's expanded her brand, worldwide. She has vending machines at
Yeah.
airports with the little lip kits, extended her reach with swimwear and baby products. We saw her, kind of grow up in a weird kind of way, dating Tyga, which is Black China's baby
Yeah.
daddy. a rapper from YMCMB. You know, we're hip hop here. So, you know, they did have an age gap, I think a pretty big one. He was
Yeah,
probably like 15, 16. He was like 20 something.
yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say there. I don't
But
know what happened or whatever. She called herself King Kylie.
she did.
After a while, you know, she was linked to many other people. I don't know, Justin Bieber, Drake,
Jaden Smith.
whatever. Who?
Jaden Smith.
Oh, Jaden Smith. You know, we've seen the scandals with her and Jordan Woods and, you know, the Chloe thing that we mentioned earlier. You know, and ultimately being linked to Travis Scott, having two kids, Stormy and Air, you know, we're Air, Wind, and Fire and Captain Planet eating it. Um, and you know, she's just doing big things over there. I think we've seen her grow up